ሳይኮሎጂን ከባለሙያዎች ጋር ለመከታተል እንኳን በሰላም መጡ። ሰላም ጤና ይስጥልን። የሳይኮሎጂን ከባለሙያዎች ጋር ፕሮግራም ተከታታዮች እንደምን ቆያችሁ፣ እንደምን ሰነበታችሁ? ሳይኮሎጂን ከባለሙያዎች ጋር የሚለውን የዩቲዩብ ቻናል እስካሁን ያላያችሁት ሰብስክራይብ ያላደረጋችሁ ሰዎች ወደፊት የምንለቃቸው ቪዲዮዎች በቀጥታ እንዲደርሷችሁ ሰብስክራይብ አድርጉና የደወል ምልክት አለች፣ እሷን ተጫኗት። ዛሬ ከኔ ጋር አብራኝ ያለችው ዶክተር ማህሌት ትባላለች። ዶክተር ማህሌት እዚህ አሜሪካን ሀገር አድጋ ትምህርቷንም ተከታትላ ጥናትና ምርምሯንም ያደረገችው ከማንነት ጋር በተያያዘ ስለሆነ እስቲ እሷን አቅርበን ስለ ማንነት እንድናወራ ስለፈለኩኝ ነው ወደ እናንተ ብቅ ያልኩት።
My name is Mahalet Ndada. I live here in Atlanta. I'm a psychologist by trade, a licensed psychologist. And I've been practicing licensed for almost 10 years. Next month will make 10 years. And I work with adults for the most part, and around, some of the common concerns, depression, anxiety, trauma, but then also the role of identity and how we see ourselves, and how sometimes that can impact our mental health depending on how the world receives us for who we are.
ምን ማለት ነው identity development ስንል ምን ማለት ነው ከሚለውን ጀምር እስቲ።
It means how do you see yourself in context of culturally with the world around you. And an identity is not just when we think about ethnicity or race or things like that, but it can also be, what does it mean to you, for example, as a female, as a woman? What does it mean to me to be female? What does it mean to be, all those boxes that you would check off around gender, age, race, ethnicity, all those factors? How do they come together to create your experience in terms of how you engage the world, but then also how the world engages you? And so, we know there's things like sexism, there's things like racism, the huge, anti-immigration kind of situation that's happening politically here in the US. All those factors, depending on what identities you hold, can impact, your quality of life.
በጾታን የተመለከተ ማንነት ይኖረናል። እምነታችንን የተመለከተ ማንነት ይኖረናል። ባህላችንን፣ ዘራችንን፣ ቋንቋችንን የተመለከተ ማንነት ይኖረናል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ማንነቶች በጣም ሰፊ የሆኑና በአንድ ነገር ብቻ ሊጠቃለሉ እንደማይችሉ ነው እየነገርሽን ያለሽው አይደል?
Exactly. And I think in the past we used to see it as one thing. Just whatever was kind of you saw as most important to you. But what researchers realize is that depending on where you are, depending on your community, different aspects of your identity sometimes come to the front versus others go to the background, depending on kind of what's going on systemically in the world around you. And that can shift over time, based on what's happening around you, but also our identities of how we see ourselves can change over time too, depending on life experiences we have.
እንግዲህ ሁላችንም በጊዜና በተለያየ እድሜ ክልል ላይ በተለያየ የእድገት ደረጃ ላይ ስንሆን ማንነታችንን በዛው ልክ የሚቀየር ከሆነ የማንነትንም የመስራቱ ነገር ሂደታዊ ነው ማለት ነው። አንድ ነገር ጎል ላይ ብቻ ደርሶ በቃ ደርሻለሁ የምንለው አይደለም። it's a process rather than an event ማለት ነው።
Absolutely. Exactly.
እዚህ ሀገር ነው ያደግሽው በተወሰነ መልኩ right? 9 ዓመት ከሆነች በኋላ ወደ አሜሪካ መጥተሻል። እንዴት ነበር አሜሪካ ውስጥ በኢትዮጵያ ወላጆች ማደግ ላንቺ ምን ነበር የሚመስለው?
So for us, context is everything, right? So when we came to the US, we were in situations and in communities where there wasn't a lot of engagement with other Ethiopian families or, people, especially kids my age. We were in Dallas for a little bit. Of course, there's a community there, but then we moved to a really small town immediately within a year for my father to continue his studies. So we were in this really small town in Texas for 6 years. And in that time, what that came to mean, at least how I understood it in the mind of, a child, is that we were just different. And there weren't other families that were like us. And there was a sense of being an other as an Ethiopian family in these small towns, very, mostly white towns. For me, because of the way my parents instilled it in me, there was a sense of pride in that identity. There was a sense of seeing it as a positive, but not feeling valued and seen by our surroundings, and always feeling like just like an outsider with our surroundings.
መልካም እንግዲህ ወደ ስፔሲፊክ ወደ ሆኑት ነጥቦች ለመግባት ልሞክር ነው። ማንነትን ዴቨሎፕ በምናደርግበት ጊዜ የብዙ ነገሮች ውጤት ነው የሚሆነው። እስቲ ወላጆች የልጆቻቸውን ማንነት በተሻለ መንገድ እንዲያዳብሩ ምን ማድረግ አለባቸው ብለሽ ታስቢያለሽ?
So the main thing is look at where do you want your child to go? What are you trying to instill in your child? What values, what beliefs based on your identity and your culture do you want to expose your child to, so they can embrace that, as their own? There has to be exposure to that. You understand, and then you really want to look at, well, how did I develop into this? How did I come into this? What are experiences that you had that allowed this to be the ones that you hold, right? And so then, because it's not that you were born in the way you are and that it just innately is who you are. You developed into this. So you have to understand that your child also has to develop into these identities based on experiences that they are exposed to. So if connection to culture, connection to language, connection to, heritage is important, how much are you exposing them to where they come from, your family, back home? How much do they have opportunities to connect with, not just you as the source of all that information, but other people around them too. Identity development is also age-based, meaning when kids are younger, you are the end-all be-all. You are the one that has the most clout and power in their life. As they begin to get to be around teenage years, you'll see them starting to turn towards their peers, late, like 10, 12 into the teenage years. They'll start to look at their peers and their friends to see, quote unquote, what's cool, who am I supposed to be trying to be right now? And so around those ages, especially, it's really important that they have, again, if you want to set this foundation of Ethiopian culture and identity, that they have other kids who are of the same background, that they get to spend time with, that share their experiences too. One last piece that I do want to add around this, though, is that one thing to keep in mind is that they are constantly going to be exposed to the host culture of wherever it is that you're living to. So don't forget that side of it too. Their school, their instructors, media, now social media, all of these things are also factors that influence identity. And so it's important to understand that those factors are going to be influential, and you want to help them develop into informed consumers of that information, so that they can more intentionally blend the cultures that they're navigating.
ወደንም ጠላንም የሚያድጉበትን አካባቢ ባህል ይዘው ማደጋቸው የማይቀር ነው። በትምህርት ቤት የሚሆን ከሌሎች ሰዎች ጋር በሚኖራቸው ግንኙነት ይሁን ከሌሎቹ ጋር መቀላቀላቸው የማይቀር ነው፣ የሚጠበቅም ነው። እኔ እንዲያውም ከአንዳንድ ወላጆች የሚያነሷቸው ፍራቻዎች አሉ፣ ወደ እነሱ እመጣለሁኝ። ከዛ በፊት ግን በወላጆችና በልጆች መካከል ያለው ግንኙነት እንዴት ለማንነታቸው ያግዛል ብለሽ ታስቢያለሽ?
So you want to think of it from the perspective of and you have to keep in mind kind of my own development and my own multicultural exposure, to kind of contribute to perspectives that I have, right? Both research based, but then also personal experience. If they have a relationship with you where there's a level of openness and there's room for conversation, that's the piece that's going to help with that. And conversation, when I say conversation, I mean where there's room to get their honest feedback, to get their honest questions about who you are, how you got to be the way you are. And it's a piece of helping them understand how you came to be rather than just telling them who you are. And again, that reinforces the idea that you develop into an identity. And, you know, the perspectives that you hold, the beliefs that you hold, how did those develop for you? Having an open conversation around that helps provide a context for who you are, helps them understand you better, and helps them understand how to take an intentional process in their own development.
በልጆችና በወላጆች መካከል ያለው ግልጽነት በእነሱ መካከል ያለው ግንኙነት ልጆቹ ለሚኖራቸው የማንነት እድገትም ትልቅ አስተዋጽኦ አለው ማለት ነው። መልካም የሆነ ግንኙነት ካለ መልካም የሆነ ተጽዕኖ ይኖረዋል። መልካም ያልሆነ ግንኙነት ደግሞ ከሌለው በዛው ልክ ከኛ ራሳቸውን እያራቁ ይልቁንም ከሌሎች ጋራ ራሳቸውን አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ ይጀምራሉ እያለችን ያለች ዶክተር ማለት እኔ በተደጋጋሚ ከወላጆች የሰማሁትን ስጋት ልጠይቅሽ ዶክተር ማለት አንደኛው ስጋት እኔ ልጄን እንዴት ነው አምኜ ከሌሎች ባህል ጋር እንዲቀላቀል የምፈቅደው? ኢትዮጵያዊ ነው መቀላቀል ያለበት ከኢትዮጵያዊ ጋራ ነው። አላቅም ሄዶ ምን እንደሚያደርግ ልጄ ላይ ምን እንደሚያጋጥመው እዛ ጋር ሄዶ ወደ ሱስ ውስጥ ሊያስገቡብኝ ይችላሉ። መጥፎ የሆኑ ነገሮችን ሊያመጣ ይችላል። ስለዚህ ጥሩ የሆነው አማራጭ ልጄን እንደዚህ ሰብሰብ አድርጌ ከልዬ መያዝ ነው። የወላጆቹን ስጋቻን እና የልጆቹን የማንነት ጥያቄ እንዴት ነው የምታስታርቂው?
So the thing that you want to do is you want to empower them to be able to go out into these experiences that they might encounter and have the knowledge and wisdom to be able to make good decisions in these situations. As much as you try to protect them, as much as you try to hold them and keep them close, there's a limit to how much you can protect your child, and that's a scary thing to imagine. I have a 2.5-year-old. And so as he gets older and is exploring his world and doing his thing, it's a constant, mental battle for me of how much do I let him fall? How much do I let him trip? Because I know that's part of how he has to learn. We learn from mistakes. But we have to give them enough information so that the falls that they make are not going to be devastating, are not going to be completely destructive. And where that comes from is some of these conversations. And I'll be perfectly honest, this is a very Americanized kind of piece that I'm introducing here. So this idea of talking about, drinking, sex, drugs, what is out there, what's safe, what's not safe, what are limits, things like that. That's a quote unquote, a very Americanized perspective. And there's sometimes people will say, if you talk about these things, then it's like saying you're giving permission, or it's like saying you're introducing these things to your child. But what the research and the data it actually shows is that kids who have accurate information about these things are actually the ones making safer decisions. However, if you completely protect them from this and don't give them any information about these things, and they don't know how to work through that on their own. So the first time they're out there exposed to any of these things, they're in a naive space where they don't necessarily understand the true dangers that are there, the very real dangers that exist around these things, and two, they don't know how to navigate that.
So የተሻለውና በጣም የተጠናው አካሄድ ልጆችን በመረጃ ማስታጠቅ፣ ልጆቹ ስለምንፈራቸው ነገሮች ጥሩ የሆነ አመለካከትና ግንዛቤ እንዲኖራቸው ማድረግ፣ ከዛ ደግሞ በራሳቸው የተሻለ ውሳኔ እንዲወስኑ ልጆችን ማብቃት። አሁን አንዳንዴ ዶክተር ማለት እንዳለችው እኛ ልጆችን ይዘን ለመጠበቅ እንሞክርና ከኛ ቁጥጥር ውጪ በሚሆኑበት ጊዜ ልጆቹን አቅም እየሰጠን ለውሳኔ እያዘጋጀን ስላላሰደግናቸው በቀላሉ ሲወሰዱብን እናያለን። እኛ ጋር ያሉ በቤት ውስጥ አብረውን በሚኖሩበት ጊዜ የልጆቹን የውሳኔን ጥሩ የሆነ ውሳኔን የመወሰን ብቃታቸውን መጨመር ብንችል፣ መረጃዎች ላይ መነጋገር ብንችል፣ ምንድነው ጥሩ ነገር፣ ይሄ የዚህ ስፔሲፊክ የሆነ ቢሄቪየርን ወስደን ምንድነው የዚህ ቢሄቪየር ጥቅሙ፣ ጉዳቱስ ምንድነው የሚመስለው፣ ማድረጉስ አለማድረጉስ ያለው ነገር ምንድነው፣ መቼስ ነው ይሄን ነገር ማድረግ የሚያስፈልገው ማድረግ የማያስፈልገው። እንግዲህ ግልጽ የሆነ ግንኙነትና ውይይት ከልጆች ጋር በሚኖረን ጊዜ እኛን መፍራት ሳይሆን ከኛ ራሱ ብዙ የሚማሩት ነገር ይኖራሉ ማለት ነው. I think it goes back to the nature of that relationship. When you have good relationship with your parent, it makes it easy to talk to them about these things.
Exactly. And there's these moments that, it doesn't have to be a sit down face to face, let's talk about really tough conversations. It could be you're watching a show together and you see, characters making unwise decisions. Pause it for a second and say, what do you think happened here? Why do you think they're making these choices? What do you think would have been a better choice? Who could they have talked to help them make a decision around this? It could be these moments that are in everyday conversation rather than these uncomfortable, long, just face-to-face conversations.
ምናልባት ሌላው ደግሞ እንግዲህ በተለያየ መንገድ ወላጆችን ሳናገር ያነሱልኝ ጥያቄን ልጠይቅን አብረን እየተወያየንበት እንሂድ። ልጄ ይላሉ አንዳንድ ወላጆች፣ ልጄ ኢትዮጵያዊ ነህ ወይንም የኢትዮጵያዊነት ማንነቱ በጣም የሚያሳፍረው ልጅ ሆኗል። To the extent that ይጠላዋል ራሱ ኢትዮጵያዊነት ሲባል ነው አልፈልግም፣ ኢትዮጵያዊ መሆንን አልፈልግም፣ እኔ ራሴን አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ የምፈልገው እንደ አሜሪካዊ ነው ወይንም እንደ ከአሜሪካ ውጭ ያሉ ከሆነ እንደዛው እንደሚኖሩበት ዶሚኔት እንደሚያደርገው ካልቸር ራሱን አይደንቲፋይ የማድረግ ቴንደንሲ ነው የሚያሳየው። ይሄ በራስ ባህል፣ በራስ ማንነት፣ በራስ ዘር ላይ ያለው ጥላቻ ከየት ነው የሚመጣው ብለሽ ታስቢያለሽ?
Part of it, I want to say, is a normal phase. So you want to think about it as a phase. It's not an end point necessarily for somebody, especially if they're a child. In identity development, it could be gender identity, it could be race identity, ethnicity. There are actually these stages that we go back and forth on depending on what's happening around us, where we have a series of things that we encounter that in that moment make us question that piece of our identity and then give us a negative outlook about that identity. But one thing that you can do as a parent is continue to reinforce the positive sides of the Ethiopian identity, making sure that they continue to connect with other Ethiopians, especially kids their age, and then give them time to work out of this phase through these positive interactions. The one piece that's important in that, like I said, is what are the multiple sources of connection to the culture? Like the example I gave of my family when we were in a small town in Texas, where we were the only Ethiopian family. Everybody around you, the constant message, whether the people meant to or not, they're of course complete racist people there too. There's just some people who are not intentionally racist, but we're just different to them. And so the constant messaging as a kid that I would get in the school is, you're different, you're not like us. On the more extreme side, you're weird, because I represent something that they just don't know anything about, and they don't have a context for me. So those are also experiences that can influence having that negative self-view. So the important piece in that is putting a child like that in a space where there are others who are like them, where they're valued, where they know their history, they know their background, they know what a phenomenal heritage that they come from, rather than just the minimized messages that they get from people around them.
ሌሎች ሰዎች ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ሲነግሩን ወይ ሌሎች ሰዎች ስለ አፍሪካ ሲነግሩን አንዷን ፓርት ብቻ አውጥቶ ነው የሚነግሩ። ምናልባት በረሃብ የተመታንበትን፣ ምናልባት ችግር እንዳለብን፣ ምናልባት ምንም የማያኮራውን የሚያሳፍረውን ፓርት ነው የሚነግሩናል። እና አሁን ዶክተር ማሬት እንዳለችው ከዛ ውጪ የሆኑ ማንነታችንን በብዛት ልጆቹ እንዲረዱት ማድረግ ስንችል በራሳቸው ማንነት መተማመን፣ የራሳቸውን ማንነትም እንደራሳቸው ማንነት አድርጎ የመቀበል ሂደት ውስጥ ይገባሉ። ግን ደግሞ ሌላ የጠቀስሽልን ነጥብ መጥላቱ ከዚህ ባህል ጋር ከዚህ ማንነት ጋር አይደንቲፋይ እንድንደረግ አልፈልግም የሚለው ራሱ ሂደቱ ነው ወደ መድረስ ወዳለባቸው ደረጃ ላይ እንዲደርሱ የሚያግዝ ፕሮሰስ ነው ማለት እንችላለን በአጠቃላይ።
Absolutely.
Okay. አንድ ሁለት ጥያቄዎች አሉ እዚህ ጋር የተጻፉ፣ እነሱን ላንብብልሽና የአስተያየቶችን ትነግሪናለሽ። አንድ አድማጫችን እያለች ያለችው ልጆቹ በአጠቃላይ በራሳቸው ማንነት እንዲተማመኑ ምንድነው ማድረግ ያለብን የሚል ጥያቄ ጠይቃናለች። ከዛ ጋር ያያዘሽ እንድትነግሪልኝ የምፈልገው ለአንቺ ውጤታማ አይደንቲቲ ዴቨሎፕመንት የምትይው ምን አይነት ነው? What's like a positive identity development for you? በአንድ ካልቸር ጋር ራስን አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ ወይስ ሁለቱንም ኢንተግሬት ማድረግ እሱንም አያይዘሽ ብትነግሪኝ።
So there, like a famous researcher, one thing that he said is there's, for an immigrant family or an immigrant person, there's kind of 4 places that you can be in identity. One is where you're completely encapsulated in your culture of origin, meaning you don't really learn the host culture, you don't really learn the host language or their traditions. You just, even though you live in a different country, within your world, you only interact with people from your community. Another is where you completely disconnect from your original culture and completely immerse yourself in the host culture. Third is people who blend it, and so they can navigate both worlds pretty fluently. And then there are some people who just disconnect from everything. And so there's a sense of like, this culture is bad for these reasons, that culture is bad for those reasons. I don't want anything to do with any of them. I'm just going to live my life, you know, kind of in this narrow kind of, without really blending in anywhere. And initially they used to say completely staying in your own or completely rejecting both is negative. Whereas if you go into the host culture or you blend the culture, so that's the more preferred way to navigate. Well, as more research is done, you can, you know, it was mostly host culture people doing those research, and that's probably where that, you know, some of those results are coming from. But as people flesh this out even more, essentially what they found is that the 3 where you immerse yourself in at least one culture, you're going to be fine. You're absolutely going to be fine. You individually, because essentially it's important that you have a community that you connect with, that you feel you have social support. That's an important thing. There are some people who can live that isolated life too, actually, it turns out. But when you think about opportunities, when you think about kind of professionally and growth, I think what and in terms of when I think of personally richness, exposure to as many things and being able to take the best of as many worlds has a possibility of opening up a lot of opportunities for you. And especially for a child who comes from another country, who's being raised here. To me, I think it's important to connect to both worlds. I want them to be able to navigate in both spaces comfortably. So that's kind of where I see it. But in terms of quality of life and day-to-day functioning, the research actually shows that 3 out of the 4 of those, really, people do absolutely fine. So it really is depending on who are you, what do you need, where do you find community, and where you can sustain yourself.
ጥሩ ነገሮች ናቸው። እነዚህን 4 የተለያዩ ግሩፖች ነው እያሳየችን የጠቀሰችልን ያለው ዶክተር ማለት በመጀመሪያው ጋር እንደሰማችሁት ሙሉ ለሙሉ በራስ ባህል ብቻ ተውጦ መኖር ሌላውን ባህሎች አስወግዶ ማለት ነው። ሁለተኛው ደግሞ የራስን ባህል ሙሉ ለሙሉ አስወግዶ በሌሎች ባህል መዋጥ። ሶስተኛው ደግሞ ከሁለቱም እየወሰዱ ሁለቱን እያስማሙ ለመኖር የሚደረግ። አራተኛው ደግሞ ሁለቱም ካልቸሮች ብዙ አያስፈልጉኝም፣ የራሳቸው ድክመት አላቸው፣ ስለዚህ ራሴን ህይወት መኖር ነው የምፈልገው እኔ ደስ ባለኝ መንገድ የሚሉ ነገሮች። እንግዲህ ከዚህ ከመጨረሻው ውጪ የመጀመሪያ 3ቶቹ ጥሩ ነው ያው ህይወት ላይ ሰዎች ህይወታቸውን ደስተኛ ሆነው መኖር እንደሚችሉ በአንዱም ሆነ በሌላው በአሜሪካ ውስጥ ተውጠው የሚሆን በኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ተውጠው የሚሆን ሁለቱንም አንድ ላይ አድርገው ዋህደው መኖር ይችላሉ ወይንም ጥናቶች የሚያሳዩት መኖር እንደሚቻል ነው። ግን እንደ ወላጅ እኛ የምንፈልገው የትኛውን ነው? እኛ የምንፈልገው የራሳቸውን ባህል እንዲያውቁ ከሆነ የራስ ባህል ላይ በጣም ከባድ ስራ መስራት ይጠበቅብናል። እኛ የምናውቀው የራስ ባህል እኛ የምንፈልገው የራሳቸውን ባህል ወስደው ከዚህም ደግሞ የሚጠቅመውን ወስደው ሁለቱን አዋህደው እንዲኖሩ ከሆነ ከሁለቱም ጋር ስራ መስራት ይጠበቅብናል ማለት ነው። አንድ ልጅ ባለፈው ያናገርኩኝ ነበርና ምን አለኝ ብዙ ጊዜ ነው ያሳለፍኩት እዚህ አሜሪካ ሀገር ነው አለኝ። ተወልጄም ቋንቋውንም የሚናገረው የዚህ ነገር ቋንቋ ነውና ምንድነው አሁን አንተ ወልደሃል የልጆች አባት ሆነሃልና ምንድነው ማድረግ ያለብህ ስለው እኔ ያላደረኩት ለልጄ ግን ማድረግ የምፈልገው ነው ያለኝ በተወሰነ ርቀት ምናልባት በ3 በ4 አመት ኢትዮጵያ ልጄን ለ2 ለ3 ወር እየወሰድኩኝ እንዳቆይ ቆይታ እንድትመጣ ማድረግ እፈልጋለሁ ያለኝ። እዛ ውስጥ ገብታ ራሷ ከባህሉ ጋር ተዋህዳ ብትመጣ የተሻለ ውጤት ይኖረዋል። እኔ እንደዚህ አድርጊ ባህልሽ ነው እያልኩኝ ብቻ ከመናገር ኦፍ ኮርስ እሱ አንደኛው መንገድ ነው። ግን ደግሞ ቀጥታ ያለው ኤክስፒሪየንስ ፓወርፉል እንደሆነ ነው እየነገረኝ ያለ ነው። ሪሰርች ያንን ያሳያል፣ ይጠቁማል። ዳይሬክት ኢመርሽን ዳይሬክት ኤክስፒሪየንስ ፓወርፉል ነው ይለናል ዶክተር ማሌት።
Huge. It's absolutely huge. Because, you know, it's if you're just telling your child about your culture, it's being filtered through your lens, right? And so even in that, you're not going to be able to fully capture the breadth of what that culture means. But if the person is able, if your child is able to go and grow up in that culture themselves, that's going to be so much more powerful.
አንድ ሌላ አድማጫችን የጠየቀችው ጥያቄ አለ። ምናልባት ከዚህ ጋር ሊያያዝ ይችላል፣ ከዚህ ጋርም ሊያያዝ ይችላል። ምን አለች? እኔን ብትረዱኝ ልጄ ከልጆቹ የተለየ ባህሪ ያለው 12 ዓመቱ ነው፣ ግን ጭራሽ ብስለት የለውም። ከሱ የሚያንሱ ልጆች ጋራ ነው የሚጫወተው። ልጅ አይማታም አይረብሽም፣ ግን ምንም ትምህርት ሊቀበል አልቻለም ማለት።
There's a piece of it that resonates for me, for example, even in my own personal experience. And for me, I was a little bit older, so junior high or high school, where growing up, I felt maturity-wise a little bit behind a lot of the kids who are my age peers who are American, just because of, again, cultural norms and differences, what we're exposed to, what you know, my family exposed me to versus what they were allowed to be exposed to was different. So there was a point where there was kind of a disconnect between me and my age peers. And I developmentally was probably closer in age to younger kids in terms of kind of my understanding of the world and my experiences of the world. Over time, you know, that catches up if it's, you know, so I don't know necessarily that it's anything to worry about, but I think that identity piece could be a part of that, based on who are these kids? Are they same culture, different culture? And what are they exposed to versus what is he exposed to? And based on kind of that exposure, that helps gravitate you towards people who are kind of more used to the same things.
መልካም። አይ ቲንክ በጣም ጥሩ ነጥቦች ናቸው። ምናልባት ተመልካቻችንም ስለ ልጆች ብስለት የሰራ ነው አንድ ሙሉ ቪዲዮ አለ ፌስቡክ ላይ ሳይኮሎጂ ዊዝ ኤክስፐርትስ የሚል ፌስቡክ ላይ ገብተሽ ስለ ልጆች ብስለት የሰራነውን ቪዲዮ ብታዩ እዛ ላይ ብስለቶች በተለያየ መልኩ እንደሚመጡ ምናልባት አንዳንዴ እድሜን ጠብቀው የሚመጡ ብስለቶች አሉ፣ አንዳንዴ ደግሞ ልጆች የሚዘገዩባቸው የብስለት ሌቭሎች ደረጃዎች አሉና እነሱን በጣም በጥልቀት እያንዳንዱን የብስለት አይነት እያየን ምን ማድረግ አለባቸው ወላጆች የሚሉትን የሰራነው ቪዲዮ አለ፣ ሙሉን ቪዲዮ። ምናልባት እሱን ሊንክ ላስቀምጥልሽ እችላለሁ መጨረሻ ላይ። በዋነኛነት ግን ትኩረት ልንሰጠው የሚገባው አንድ ብስለት ብቻውን ብዙ ርቀት ሊያስኬድ አይችልም። ልጆች በሁሉም ረገድ ብስለት እንዲያመጡ ማገዝ ያስፈልጋል። ለምሳሌ ትምህርት ላይ ብቻ እንልና የልጁ የስሜት እድገት ወይም ኢሞሽናል ኢንተለጀንሱ ዝቅ ያለ የሚሆንበት አጋጣሚ ይኖራል። የልጁ ከሌሎች ጋር ያለው ግንኙነት ብስለት ወይም ሶሻል ኢንተራክሽን ሶሻል ማቹሪቲ ቀነስ ያለ ሊሆን ይችላል። ስለዚህ እንደ ወላጅ የብስለት አይነቶቹ ምንድናቸው፣ ለእያንዳንዱ የብስለት አይነትስ ምንድነው ማድረግ ያለብን የሚለውን በዝርዝር ስላየነው እሱን ቪዲዮ እንድትመለከቱ ልጋብዝሽ። እሱን አይተሽ ግን ተጨማሪ ጥያቄ ካለ ጻፊልን። ምናልባት ዶክተር ማሌት ወደ አንቺ ልመለስና what are some barriers to positive identity development?
So one piece of it, so when we grow up in a singular culture, there's kind of this analogy that I remember from graduate school of a fish doesn't know it's in water until you pull it out of the water, and then it realizes, oh, you know, this is a completely different, you know, environment that I'm in. And so if you've grown up within one culture, especially from childhood into early adulthood, you don't understand all the nuanced things that you're taking away that you've automatically absorbed until you step into a new culture. And those things weren't always, those things that you absorbed and the values that you absorbed weren't always intentional. You just kind of take in what you're raised in, right? When a kid is raised outside of in a bicultural space, this becomes an opportunity. It becomes an opportunity to take the best out of everything that's around them. And the things that can hinder having a healthy identity is number one is negative messaging from either the host culture or at home about the host culture. So if you are making flat negative statements, kind of nuanced negative statements about American culture, American kids, American systems, that's going to hinder them from being able to really take a more sophisticated, more helpful understanding of what those things are. Similarly, if they're surrounded by people who are only saying negative things about their culture of origin, that's going to have an impact as well, right? There needs to be more nuanced, sophisticated conversation around what are all of these things. So that's one thing. Exposure. We've talked about this as well. Do they have friends that are of their host culture as well as local culture? Are they learning language? Are they, and you know what, honestly, that's hard to do. I mean, look at me here. I can understand to a degree. I left I left Ethiopia when I was 4. But as much as my parents tried, I'm not going to be fluent. I'm not fluent because of factors that were in place. And if you're in a space where you personally can't teach your children the language because of just you're trying to do everything else and work and put food on the table, is there somebody that you can bring in that can help teach them? And later in life isn't even too late. There, for example, the university that I went to after I graduated hired an Amarinya teacher as a language professor, where you could take Amarinya as a foreign language in college, Spanish, French, Amarinya, and it was that's an opportunity for a kid who may have never spoken to, who doesn't have any language ability in college to learn it. So seeking out and encouraging them to take advantage of these kinds of opportunities.
የራስን ባህልን በተመለከተ ወይንም ደግሞ የሚኖሩበትን ባህል በተመለከተ የምናስተላልፋቸው መልእክቶች እኔ በጣም ትልቅ ትኩረት መስጠት አለብን ብዬ አስባለሁ። እንደው ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ስናወራ የምናወራው ኢትዮጵያ ከችግር ጋር ብቻ ያይዘናት ከሆነ፣ ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ስናወራ ኢትዮጵያን የምናወራው ከረሃብ ጋር ብቻ ያይዘን ከሆነ፣ ኢትዮጵያን ስናወራ ኢትዮጵያ ከጸብና ከድብድብ ጋር ብቻ ያይዘን የምናወራ ከሆነ አይ ሀበሻን ተውት እያልን ሀበሻን አንድ ባክስ ውስጥ አስቀምጠን ልጆቻችን እያዩን እየሰሙን እየተመለከቱን ሀበሻ እንዲሆኑ እየፈለግን ኢትዮጵያዊ ማንነትን እንዲያዳብሩ እየፈለግን ግን ደግሞ የምንነግራቸው ሀበሻ ማለት እንደዚህ ነው እያልን የምንነግራቸው ከሆነ ያ ለማንነታቸው በፍጹም አያግዝም። ስለ አሜሪካኖችም ስናወራ እንደዛው ወይ እነሱ ደግሞ እንደዚህ ያላቸው ያለን ሁሉንም ነገር የምናጣጥል ከሆነ እየለቀምን አሁን እሱም የሚጠቅም ነገር አይደለም። አሁን ልጃችን እኛን እንዲያየን የምንፈልገው ሁለቱንም ሳይድ ማየት የሚችል ወላጅ፣ የኢትዮጵያ ጥሩ የሆነ ጎኑን አምጥቶ የሚናገር መሻሻል ያለባቸውንም ነገሮች ደግሞ ሳይፈራ ማቅረብ መናገር የሚችል። ምክንያቱም አሁን ኢትዮጵያ ጥሩ ነች ብቻ ብለን መናገርም እሱም ችግር አለው። ምክንያቱም ሲያድጉ ልጆቹ ጥሩ አለመሆኗን እያወቁ ሲመጡ እንዴት ተነገረኝ ነገር ለካ ውሸት ብቻ ነበር ብለው ከዛ አይነት ማንነት ራሳቸውን ለማራቅ ሙከራ ሊያደርጉ ይችላሉ። ስለዚህ አሁን ይሄ ጥግ የሆነ ፖላራይዝድ የሆነ ቪው ልጆቻችን ላይ ለመጫን ምን ሞክር ከሆነ ዶክተር ማለት እንደነገረችን ለማንነታቸው ብዙ የሚያግዝ አይሆንም። ስለዚህ ባላንስድ የሆነ መረጃዎችን መስጠት ሁለቱም ካልቸር ላይ ያ ስንሆን ልጆቻችንም ራሱ እይታቸውን ከኛ ጋር አምጥተው እንዲነጋገሩ ያግዛሉ ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ እኔ እንደውም አንዳንዴ ሀበሻ እንደዚህ ነው ሲባል ሀበሻ የሚባለው ሰውዬ አንድ ሰው ነው እንደላለውኝ። ምክንያቱም ሁላችንም ሀበሻ ውስጥ ሆነ ግን ደግሞ በአንድ ጸባይ እየተነገረን ነው የምናየው። ወይንም አሜሪካኖች ሲባሉ እንደዚህ ናቸው እንሰማለን። አዚፍ አሜሪካኖች በሙሉ አንድ ፋብሪካ ውስጥ ገብተው አንድ አይነት ባህሪ እንዳላቸው I think እንደዚህ አይነት አመለካከቶች መራቅ ብንችል የልጆቹን ማንነት ያግዛል፣ ለልጆቹ ማንነትም ማቀላጠፍ ይችላል። ካልሆነ ግን ቀደም ያለው በራሳቸው ዘር የሚያፍሩ የሚሸማቀቁ ልጆችን እያፈራን ሊሆን ይችላል። ስለዚህ አንደኛው ነጥብ ትክክለኛ የሆነ መረጃ መስጠት፣ ሁለተኛው ነጥብ ዶክተር ማለት እንዳለችው እዛ ባህል ውስጥ ራሳቸው ገብተው ኢንትራክት እንዲያደርጉ ጊዜ እንዲያሳልፉ ሁኔታዎችን ማመቻቸት። እኔ አውቃለሁኝ አንድ ወላጅ በጣም ኢትዮጵያዊ ከሌለበት ቦታ ልጁ ኢትዮጵያዊ ባለበት ቦታ ላይ እንዲያድግ ስለፈለገች ያንን ኤክስፒሪየንስ ይዞ እንዲያድግ ስለፈለገች ስራዋን ለቃ ቤቷን ሸጣ በጣም ብዙ ርቀት ሄዳ ሌላ ቦታ ላይ እንደገና ኑሯን የጀመረች ሰው አውቃለሁ። ያን ያህል መስዋዕትነት ላይ ይከፈላል ለልጆቹ ማንነት ሲባል። ስለዚህ ኤክስፒሪየንስ ላይክ እዛ ውስጥ ሆነው እንዲያድጉ የባህሉን እየቀመሱት ባህሉን እያዩት አንዳንዴ ከምንናገረው ይልቅ የሚያዩት ነገር በጣም ፓወርፉል ነው። ምናልባት እኛ ማናየው እነሱ የሚያዩዋቸው በጣም ጥሩና አስፈላጊ ነገሮች ስላሉ ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ኤክስፖዠር እዛ ውስጥ ባህል ውስጥ እንዲቀላቀሉ ማድረግ በጣም በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው። ምናልባት ሌላ ሐሳብ የመጣልሽ ነገር ካለ መሃል ላይ
I think one thing is also, with all these things that you name, having a conversation of why do you think this is happening? Why do you think people are making these decisions? Why do you think people say these things? To help them understand the context, the history that contributes to where things are in both spaces. I think one other piece also is because they have to navigate the culture here, the host culture, it's really important to try to educate yourself as much as possible about kind of what are the norms in middle school, in junior high, high school, what are the cultures, what are the traditions, so that, there's certain this is kind of a typical kind of thing that you hear about from kids who grew up here. It's, mom and dad, they don't care about, what do you say, like football games, or they don't care about these dances, or there used to be the emphasis on extracurricular activities for college applications. They just want you to study and do your studies, but they're not trying to help me do extracurricular activities. When in fact these are, these dances and these football games and things are socializing spaces where people connect and make relationships and make connections. And they have some role and some importance. You don't want that to be the only focus, for any child, but those social outlets are actually important to help them find a community and have friends, right? Then there's but also like for college applications, for them to be competitive. If they're, the grades are great, yes, perfect grades are wonderful, but they will be more competitive if they have volunteer experiences, if they have a job, if they have different things. And, having worked in college counseling actually for a good 10 years as part of my training in the early part of my career, the kids that I see coming into universities who are actually well-rounded and more mature are ones who had a job, are ones who had responsibilities growing up, where they did volunteer, where they did different things. That helped them transition more easily to that college environment where suddenly they don't have mom and dad necessarily there to help them through everything. So that's an important piece too.
በመጨረሻ ላይ ላነሳው የፈለኩት ሐሳብ አንዳንድ ልጆች ደግሞ በተደጋጋሚ የተለያየ ባህል ውስጥ ራሳቸውን ሲያገኙት እናያለን። ለምሳሌ ኢትዮጵያ ነበሩ፣ ከዛ ትንሽ ቆይተው ወደ አሜሪካ ይመጣሉ፣ ከዛ ደግሞ ትንሽ ቆይተው ወደ ሌላ ሀገር እንደው ከሁለት እና ከዛ በላይ የሆኑ ባህሎች ውስጥ ራሳቸውን የሚያገኙ ልጆችንም ደግሞ እናያለን። ባለፈው ስናወራ you talked about the concept of third culture kids, and so if you could explain that to us, that would be great.
Sure. The third culture kids are, like you're saying, they've grown up in a variety of cultures over the course of their kind of childhood and early adolescent. And so during these really key developmentally impressionable times of their life, they have been exposed to a wide variety of cultures. So kids who grow up like that, they kind of describe it as, I can probably blend in almost anywhere, but I don't belong anywhere. What it does is they kind of are floating kind of between cultures generally, in terms of their own cultural identity. They tend to be loners. They tend to take longer to make career decisions. They tend to socially be slightly, have kind of more isolated relationships. But in terms of their long-term kind of life trajectory, it really opens up the world to them in terms of where they might go professionally, what they might be able to do.
በጣም በልጅነቱ ብዙ ባህል ውስጥ በብዙ ቦታዎች በብዙ ባህል ውስጥ እየተንቀሳቀሰ ያደገ ልጅ እናስብና ሌሎቹ ጋራ ተቀላቅለው በቀላሉ ይኖራሉ ግን ደግሞ የራሴ የሚሉት ማንነትን ይዘውስ እንዲሄዱ እንዴት ነው ማገዝ የምንችለው?
So it's going to be that much more important. For example, if you want that base to be the family culture and kind of origin, you have to balance how much external exposure there is. So like, you know, the thing that you said, are they spending summers at home? How much time do they get to travel back home and actually have time at home? For these people also, the idea of home shifts. You know, when people say home, usually it's where are you from? Or that question where that can be that's a very easy answer for a person who's immigrated from one place to another just one time. But if you ask these kids, where are you from? They have a wide variety of answers because to them that means something different. If you add, like I could consider myself like within this group. If you ask me where's home, where are you from? My answer is my family. That's my home base. That's my essence, my source. So it's not a country, it's not a place, it's my family, my parents and my sister, right? And so really, if to broaden that to also include a cultural identity, they really need as much exposure as possible to that culture of origin. That's the biggest thing you can do.
በጣም ጠቃሚና አስፈላጊ የሆነ መረጃ ነው እየሰማን ያለ ነው። አንዳንዴ በቀላሉ ማንነትን ስናወራ በቀላሉ አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ የሚያስቸግርበት ሁኔታ ይኖራል። 6 7 8 ቦታ እየተጓዘ ያደገ ልጅና ራሱን ከዚህ ነኝ ማለት የሚከብደው ልጅ ሲኖር ምናልባት ያንን የማንነቱ መሰረት ቤተሰቡ ሊሆን እንደሚችል ነው ልምዷን ጠቅሳይ ነገረችን። በጣም ነው የምናመሰግነው ዶክተር ማለት። ምናልባት የመጨረሻ ሐሳብ ካለሽ?
Embrace the journey. And it's, you know, again, keep in mind that it's a constant shifting thing. So if there's a space that your child is in that makes you nervous, that makes you uncomfortable, keep in mind some of the things that we have said in terms of options for helping steer them in the direction that you want them to go. But know that this is probably a phase that will change again. And so be patient with them, be patient with yourself. And you're doing the best that you can, you know, and so are they. And so just keep that in mind, that in the long run, this hard space probably isn't going to be the end point for you.
በእውነት በጣም ነው የምናመሰግነው። ከካውንስሊንግ ከምትሰራበት ስራ ላይ ነው ሰዓቷን ሰጥታ ከኛ ጋር ለመወያየት ብቅ ያለችው ዶክተር ማለት በጣም ነው የምናመሰግነው። I hope የሚቀጥለው ሌላ ጊዜም እንደዚህ ብቅ እያልሽ አንዳንድ ነጥቦች ላይ ሙያዊ ድጋፍ እንደምታደርጊልን ተስፋ እናደርጋለን።
Happy to.
Thank you so much. አመሰግናለሁ።
Bye.
ማንነትን በተመለከተ ያልዳሰስናቸው ያላየናቸው ነጥቦች ካሉ ፕሊዝ ጻፉልን ከታች። የሚቀጥለው ጊዜ ላይ ተጨማሪ ቪዲዮዎችን መስራት እንችላለን። እንግዲህ አሁን በአጠቃላይ የልጆቹ ማንነት እንዴት ነው የሚገነባው፣ ምን አይነት ነገሮች ናቸው የሚያስፈልጉት፣ እንዴት ማገዝ እንችላለን የሚለውን ነው ለማየት የሞከርነው። ተጨማሪ ጥያቄዎች ካሏችሁ ጻፉልን፣ እንመለሳለን። አብራችሁን ስለነበራችሁ በጣም ነው የምናመሰግነው። ሌሎች የሰራናቸውን ቪዲዮዎችን ተከታተሉ፣ ለሌሎች ሰዎችም አድርሱ። መልካም ጊዜ፣ መልካም ቀን ይሁንላችሁ።